remember the light that morning. I remember it clear as anything, the way it come through the kitchen window, the way it fell across the table where we ate our breakfast. Such ordinary light, such an ordinary morning, and I didn't know. I didn't know it would be the last time I'd see my boy's face in that light. I should have stopped him. That's what I tell myself. Every day since. Every single day. I should have put my foot down. Should have said no. A mother ought to protect her children. That's what a mother's for. But I let him go. I let my Thomas walk out that door. And he never came back. He never came back to me. I'm old now, so old. I was born in 1837. That's a long time ago, isn't it? A long, long time. I've lived through so much, seen so much, but nothing in all these years has hurt like that day, like the days that followed, the weeks, the months, the years of not knowing, and then knowing. Oh, when I finally knew, I wished I could go back to not knowing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I do that now. My mind, it jumps around like a bird that can't settle. The young man who's recording this, he asks me to tell it from the beginning, to tell about my life, about Thomas, about that day. So I'll try. I'll try to tell it proper. I was born in a small town. Not much to it. Just farms, mostly. My father, he worked the land. Not his own land, mind you. He worked for Mr. Patterson, who owned near about everything in our county. My mother, she took in washing. Her hands were always red, always raw from the lye soap. I remember watching her scrub those clothes, scrub and scrub. Her knuckles would crack and bleed in the winter, but she never complained. Not once did I hear her complain. We were poor. I don't mind saying it. We were poor, but we didn't know we were poor, if that makes sense. Everyone we knew lived the same way, in little wooden houses that let in the cold, wearing the same clothes year after year, eating what we could grow or what we could afford, potatoes mostly, bread when we had flour, meat on Sundays if we were lucky. I had 6 brothers and sisters. I was the middle child. 3 older than me, 3 younger. We all slept in the same room, 2 to a bed, sometimes 3 when the babies were small. I slept with my sister Margaret. We'd curl up together in the winter to keep warm. The blankets we had, they weren't much, thin things, worn through in places. But we had each other. That counted for something. School, we didn't have much of that. There was a schoolhouse about 2 miles from our place, but we couldn't go regular. Papa needed us in the fields, especially during planting season, during harvest, so we'd go when we could. I learned to read a little, to write my name, to do simple sums. That was more than my mother ever learned. She couldn't read at all. Used to make her sad, I think, though she never said. When I was 12, I went into service. That's what girls did then. Poor girls like me. We went to work in the houses of people who had more. I went to work for the Hawthorns. They lived in the big house on the hill. You could see it from our place. White columns in front, gardens all around. Seemed like a palace to me. I was a scullery maid, lowest of the low. I washed dishes, scrubbed floors, cleaned out the fireplaces, carried water, emptied chamber pots. My hands got red like my mother's. My back ached all the time. I was just a child, really. But children worked then. That's just how it was. Nobody thought nothing of it. I lived in the attic of that big house, in a little room under the eaves. It was cold in winter, hot in summer, but it was mine, my own space. I'd never had that before. And I got one afternoon off every month. One afternoon to go home and see my family. I'd walk those 2 miles. I didn't mind. I was young, strong, happy to see Mama and Papa, my brothers and sisters. I worked for the Hawthorns for 6 years, from 12 to 18. And it was there I met John, my John. He worked in the stables, took care of the horses, fed them, brushed them, cleaned their stalls. He was tall, had dark hair, dark eyes, strong arms from lifting bales of hay, from shoeing the horses. I'd see him sometimes when I was out back, hanging laundry or fetching water from the well. He'd tip his cap to me, say good morning. I was shy then, so shy. I'd just nod, look down, hurry on with my work. But I'd think about him. Oh, I'd think about him. Wonder if he thought about me. One day it was spring, I remember. He helped me carry water. I had 2 buckets, heavy buckets, and I was struggling. He came over, took 'em from me, carried them right to the kitchen door, and he smiled. Such a smile. It made my heart do something funny, made my stomach flip. After that, we'd talk sometimes, little conversations, about the weather, about the work, about nothing really. But it meant something to me, everything to me. I was 18 years old, never been courted, never had a boy look at me the way John looked at me. He asked permission to walk with me on my afternoon off, asked proper, respectful. I said yes. Of course I said yes. We walked through the town, past the church, down by the creek. We talked and talked about our families, our childhoods, our dreams. He wanted to have his own farm someday, his own land, his own horses. I wanted a home, children, a family of my own. We courted for a year, a whole year of stolen moments, of walks on my afternoons off, of shy glances across the yard, of my heart beating fast whenever I saw him. And then he asked me to marry him, down by that creek where we'd walked so many times. Got down on one knee right there in the mud, asked me to be his wife. I cried and said yes, 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 yes. I would marry him. I would be his wife. We'd build a life together. We'd be happy. We would be so happy. We married in the fall of 1856. I was 19 years old, 19 and so full of hope, so full of dreams. We had the ceremony in the little church. My family came. His family came. Mrs. Hawthorne gave me the day off, even gave me a bit of cloth for a dress. I wore my mother's wedding bonnet, carried wildflowers that Margaret picked for me. John had saved his wages, saved every penny he could. We rented a little house on the edge of town, 2 rooms, a kitchen and a bedroom. It wasn't much. The roof leaked when it rained. The windows didn't close quite right, but it was ours, our home. I'd never been so happy, never in my whole life. I kept working for the Hawthorns for a time. We needed the money. John worked at the livery stable in town. We were saving, trying to save enough for John to buy some land, to start that farm he dreamed of. Every penny we could spare, we put aside. We ate simple, wore our clothes till they wore out, didn't spend on anything we didn't need. And then I got with child. I knew before I even missed my monthly time. Just knew, felt different, felt something growing inside me. I told John one night after supper. He picked me up, spun me around right there in our little kitchen. We were going to be parents, going to have a baby, our baby. I stopped working when I started to show. Mrs. Hawthorne didn't want a pregnant girl working in her house, said it wasn't proper. So I stayed home, kept our little house, sewed baby clothes from scraps of fabric, prepared as best I could. I was scared. My own mother had lost 3 babies, 2 born dead, one that died before her first birthday. Childbirth was dangerous. We all knew that. Every woman knew. But I tried not to think about that. Tried to think happy thoughts about holding my baby, about John being a father, about the family we'd have. Thomas was born in the spring of 1857, April 14th. I labored for near about a day and a half. The midwife came, old Mrs. Cooper, who'd birthed half the babies in the county. My mother came too, held my hand, wiped my face with a cool cloth, told me I was doing good, told me to push, to breathe, to push again. And then he was there, my baby, my son, screaming and red and perfect, perfect in every way. They laid him on my chest, still wet, still covered in birth, and I looked at his little face, his little fingers, his little toes, and I fell in love, a love like I'd never known, fierce and protective and all-consuming. We named him Thomas, after John's father who'd passed some years before, Thomas John Whitfield, our boy, our precious boy. Those early days, they were hard. I was tired all the time, so tired. Thomas, he didn't sleep much, cried a lot. I'd walk him around our little house, hour after hour, singing to him, rocking him, trying to soothe him. My breasts hurt, feeding hurt, everything hurt. But when he'd finally settle, when he'd finally sleep against my chest, his little mouth slack, his little fist curled under his chin. Oh, it was worth it, all worth it. John was a good father. He'd come home from the livery covered in dirt and horse smell, but he'd wash up, hold Thomas, talk to him, sing to him in his deep voice. Thomas would stare up at his father, such serious eyes for a baby, such a serious little face. And John would laugh, say his boy was thinking deep thoughts already. We were happy, poor, but happy. We had enough to eat, a roof over our heads, and we had each other, our little family. That's what mattered. That's what I told myself. We had each other. Thomas grew, learned to smile, to laugh, to roll over, to sit up, to crawl. He was quick into everything. I had to watch him every minute. He'd pull himself up on the furniture, wobble there on his chubby legs, fall down, try again, so determined. Even as a baby he was determined. He walked at 10 months. Early, the other mothers said. Walked right across our kitchen, arms out for balance, a huge smile on his face, so proud of himself. We clapped, cheered. He laughed and did it again, walked back and forth, showing off for us. He was a beautiful child, dark hair like his father, but my eyes, blue-green, the color of the creek in summer. He had a dimple in his left cheek when he smiled. Just one. I used to kiss it. Used to tell him it was where an angel touched him before he was born. When Thomas was 2, I got with child again. We were hoping for a girl this time, a little sister for Thomas. But I lost the baby. 3 months along I started bleeding, cramping. I knew what it meant. I'd seen it happen to other women, my own mother. The midwife came, but there was nothing to be done. The baby was gone. I grieved. Oh, how I grieved. Stayed in bed for days. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Just cried and cried. John didn't know what to do, how to help. He'd sit beside the bed, hold my hand, tell me we'd try again, but I couldn't be comforted. I'd lost my baby I'd never hold, never know. Thomas, he was too young to understand, but he knew something was wrong. He'd climb into bed with me, pat my face with his little hands, say, Mama sad, and I'd hold him tight, my living child, my Thomas. And eventually, I came back to myself, started to heal. The grief didn't go away, not entirely, but it became something I could carry, something I could live with. I got pregnant 2 more times over the next few years, lost both babies, one at 2 months, one at 4. After the 3rd loss, I couldn't try anymore, couldn't bear it. The hope, and then the grief, the emptiness, the failure, because that's how it felt, like I was failing as a woman, as a wife, as a mother. So Thomas remained our only child, our only living child. And maybe that's why I loved him so much. Too much, perhaps. Maybe that's why I held on so tight, why I worried so much. He was all I had, all we had, our one precious boy. He grew up strong and healthy. Thank the Lord for that. He didn't get the scarlet fever that took 3 children on our street. Didn't get the cholera that swept through town when he was 5. Didn't break any bones. Didn't have any serious sickness. He was healthy, robust, always running, always playing, always into some mischief. He started school when he was 6. Walked to the schoolhouse every morning with the other children. I'd watch from the window, watch him go, his little legs pumping, his lunch pail swinging. He liked school, liked learning. He was smart, quick with numbers, good at reading. The teacher, Miss Allen, she said he had potential, Said he could make something of himself if he applied himself. That made me proud, so proud. My boy, my smart boy. John was proud too. Would tell everyone at the livery about his son, about how well he was doing in school, about how the teacher praised him. Thomas had friends, lots of friends, boys from school, from the neighborhood. They'd run wild through the streets, playing games, getting dirty, coming home with torn pants, scraped knees. I'd scold him, tell him to be more careful, but I didn't really mean it. I was glad he was happy, glad he had friends, a childhood. When Thomas was 8, John finally bought land, 5 acres on the edge of town. It wasn't much. The soil wasn't great, but it was ours. John's dream come true. We moved out there, built a little house, just 2 rooms at first. John said we'd add on as we could, as we had money. John started farming, growing wheat, corn, keeping chickens, a cow for milk. He still worked at the livery part-time. We needed the cash money, but he'd come home, work the land, work until dark, until he could barely stand. He was building something, building a future for us, for Thomas. Thomas helped. He was young, but he helped. Fed the chickens, gathered eggs, helped with the planting, the weeding. He complained sometimes. What boy doesn't complain about chores? But he didn't. Learned from his father. Learned about the land, about animals, about hard work. Those years, they were good years. Hard but good. We had our own place, our own land, food on the table. Thomas was growing up, becoming a young man. We were together. We were a family. I remember when Thomas turned 12. We had a little party, just us and a few neighbors. I made a cake, my mother's recipe. Thomas blew out the candles, made a wish. I asked him what he wished for. He said he couldn't tell or it wouldn't come true, but he smiled, that dimpled smile. And I thought, this is happiness, this right here, my boy, my husband, our home. This is everything I ever wanted. But children grow up. They grow up and they change. They become their own people, with their own ideas, their own dreams, their own foolishness. Thomas started to change around 13, 14, got quieter, moodier, would spend hours by himself, walking the fields, sitting by the creek. When I'd ask what was wrong, he'd say nothing. Nothing was wrong. But I knew. A mother knows. He started talking about leaving, about seeing the world, about adventure. He'd read books, stories about faraway places, about the West, about gold in California, about opportunities, about making a fortune. His eyes would light up when he talked about it, get all bright and excited. John would laugh, say the boy was a dreamer, say he'd grow out of it, that all boys went through this phase, wanting adventure, wanting something more, but that he'd settle down, take over the farm someday, marry a local girl, have children, stay close. But I wasn't so sure. I'd watch Thomas, see the way he looked toward the horizon, the way he'd talk about places he'd never been, people he'd never met, things he wanted to do, and I'd feel something cold in my stomach, a fear, a worry that I was going to lose him, that one day he'd leave and not come back. I tried to keep him close, gave him more responsibility on the farm, talked about the future, about how this land would be his someday, about how he could build on what his father started, make it bigger, better. But he'd just nod, agree half-heartedly, his mind somewhere else, always somewhere else. When the war came, everything changed. The war between the states, the Civil War, started in 1861. Thomas was only 4 then, too young to understand. But as it went on, as the years passed, as the news came of battles, of deaths, of boys from our town who didn't come home, it became real, became something that touched us all. John and I, we didn't much care about the politics of it, about states' rights or slavery or any of that. We were just farmers, simple folk. We wanted to be left alone, to work our land, to live our lives. But you couldn't escape it. The war was everywhere, in every conversation, every newspaper, every prayer at church. Thomas got swept up in it. He was 15 when the war started, 18 when it ended. Those years, those important years when a boy becomes a man. And a war, it was all he heard about, all anyone talked about. The glory of it, the honor of it, fighting for your beliefs, for your home, for the Confederacy. I hated it, hated the war, hated what it was doing to people, to families, to my boy. He'd talk about enlisting, about joining up, about fighting. He was too young at first, but he'd say as soon as he was old enough, as soon as they'd take him, he'd go. He'd do his part. I'd argue with him, tell him he was needed here, on the farm, that his father needed him, that I needed him, that the war was foolishness, that it would only get him killed. But he wouldn't listen. Got angry when I tried to stop him. Said I didn't understand, that it was about honor, about duty, about being a man. John tried to talk to him too, man to man, but Thomas was stubborn, so stubborn. Got that from his father, I suppose. Once he set his mind to something, there was no changing it. The war ended in 1865. Thomas was 8 then. We thought it was over. The fighting, the dying, the fear. We could go back to normal, back to our lives. But it wasn't that simple. Nothing was ever that simple. The years after the war were hard. The economy was destroyed. Money was worthless. Food was scarce. People were angry, hurt, grieving. The men who came back, they were different. Haunted, some missing limbs, some missing their minds. It was a difficult time, a sad time. We struggled on the farm. Crops failed. The cow died. We couldn't afford to replace her. We ate what we could grow, sold what little extra we had. John worked more hours at the livery. Thomas worked too, odd jobs around town, whatever he could find. We needed every penny. Thomas grew into a man during those years, tall like his father, broad-shouldered, strong. But there was something restless in him, something unsettled. He'd work hard all day, but at night he'd sit on the porch, staring out into the dark. And I knew he was thinking about leaving, about going somewhere else, somewhere where things were better, where there was opportunity. He met a girl, Sarah Collins. Her family lived in town. Her father ran the general store. She was a sweet girl, pretty, good-natured. I liked her. Hoped maybe she'd be the reason Thomas stayed, that he'd marry her, settle down, build a life here. They courted for near about a year. He'd go into town to see her, take her for walks, to church socials. He seemed happy, more settled. I thought maybe this was it. Maybe he'd stay now. But then they had a fight. I don't know what about. Thomas wouldn't say. But he came home angry, upset, locked himself in his room, wouldn't eat supper, wouldn't talk to us. The next day, Sarah's father came by. Said Sarah had called off the courtship, that Thomas had said some things, made some plans she couldn't be part of, that she was sorry, but it was over. I tried to talk to Thomas about it. He wouldn't, just said it was for the best, that she didn't understand him, didn't want the same things, that he couldn't stay here, couldn't be what she wanted, what we wanted. He had to go, had to see what else was out there. My heart broke. I'd been so hopeful, so sure that Sarah would be the anchor that kept him here. But I was wrong, and now there was nothing holding him back. He started making plans, real plans. He'd saved money from his jobs, not much, but some. He bought a train ticket to St. Louis, said there were jobs there, factories, opportunities, said he could make real money, send some home, help us. John tried one more time to convince him to stay, told him the farm could be his, all his, that we'd sign it over, that he could run it however he wanted. But Thomas said no. Thank you, but no. He appreciated it, everything we'd done for him, but he needed to go, needed to try. I was angry, so angry. How could he leave us, after everything, after all we'd sacrificed, all we'd given him? How could he just walk away? Didn't he know what it would do to me? Didn't he care? We fought. Oh, we fought terrible. Said things, hurtful things. I told him he was selfish, ungrateful, that he was breaking my heart, that I'd never forgive him if he left. Never. He said I was trying to control him, keep him small, that I didn't want him to have his own life, his own dreams, that I loved him too much, smothered him, that he had to go or he'd die here, die without ever really living. Those words, they cut me, cut so deep. Too much love? Was there such a thing? I was his mother. Of course I loved him. Of course I wanted him close, wanted him safe. Was that so wrong? We didn't speak for days, moved around each other in the house like strangers, like enemies. John tried to make peace, told us both to calm down, to talk, to work it out. but we were both too stubborn, too hurt, too angry. The day he was supposed to leave was a Tuesday, May 12th, 1874. I remember it exactly, every detail. It's burned into my memory, into my soul. I woke up that morning and the light was coming through the kitchen window. That ordinary light I mentioned. I made breakfast, biscuits and gravy, Thomas's favorite. I thought maybe if I made his favorite, maybe we could talk, make peace before he left. I didn't want him to go with this anger between us, this hurt. But when he came to the table, he barely looked at me, just ate quickly, quietly. John tried to make conversation, talk about the weather, the crops, anything. But Thomas just gave short answers. Yes, no, maybe. He was closed off, shut down. After breakfast, he went to his room, packed his bag, one small bag. That's all he was taking. Some clothes, a book, a photograph of the three of us taken the year before. That was it. His whole life fit in one small bag. He came out, stood by the door. John hugged him, told him to be safe, to write, to come home if he needed anything. Thomas nodded, said he would. Then he turned to me. I wanted to hug him, wanted to tell him I loved him, that I was sorry, that he should follow his dreams, that I'd always be here, always be his mother, always love him. I wanted to say all of that, but I was still so angry, still so hurt. So I just stood there, arms crossed, looking at him. This man who used to be my baby, my little boy. And I said nothing, not one word. He looked at me, waiting. I could see it in his eyes. He wanted me to say something, anything, to give him my blessing, tell him it was okay, but I didn't. I just stood there, silent, stubborn, foolish. He waited another moment, then he nodded, just once, picked up his bag, opened the door. The light fell across the threshold, bright morning light, and he stepped through it, closed the door behind him, and he was gone. I stood there, listening to his footsteps on the porch, on the path, getting fainter, fainter, until I couldn't hear him anymore. And still, I stood there. John touched my shoulder, said I should go after him, say goodbye properly, but I shook my head. No, let him go. Let him see how hard it is out there. He'll be back. He'll come back, and then we'll talk. But he didn't come back. Not that day, not the next, not ever. We got a letter 2 weeks later from St. Louis. He'd arrived safely, found a room, found a job in a factory. The work was hard, but the pay was decent. He was doing fine. He hoped we were well. He'd write again soon. That was it. Short, impersonal. Like he was writing to distant relatives, not his parents. I wrote back. A long letter. Told him about the farm, about the neighbors, about everything happening here. Asked him about his life there, his job, his room, if he was eating enough, if he was safe. I didn't apologize. Not yet. I was still too proud, but I tried to be warm, tried to show I cared. He wrote back a month later. Another short letter. Things were going well. He'd gotten a raise, made some friends. St. Louis was exciting, busy, so different from home. He'd send money soon, help with the farm, and that's how it went. For months, short letters back and forth, me trying to bridge the gap, him keeping me at a distance. The money he sent helped. It really did. But I'd have given it all back, every penny, just to have him home, just to see him, to talk to him properly. John kept saying, give him time. He's young, having an adventure. He'll come home for Christmas. You'll see, everything will be fine. But he didn't come home for Christmas. Wrote that he was working. Couldn't afford to take the time off. Needed the money. Maybe next year. I cried, I admit it. Cried like a child. Our first Christmas without him, the house felt so empty, so quiet. I kept his stocking up anyway. Put an orange in it, some candy, like he was still there. Still my little boy waiting for Santa. The new year came. 1875. January was cold, so cold. The coldest winter I could remember. We got a letter in February. Thomas had been sick, a bad cough, had to miss some work, was feeling better now but had lost his job. The factory was cutting workers. He'd find something else. We shouldn't worry. But I did worry. I worried all the time. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. Imagining him alone in that big city. Sick. No job. No money. I wanted to go to him. Bring him home. But we didn't have money for train fare. Could barely afford to keep ourselves fed that winter. He found another job. Wrote in March. Working at the docks. Loading and unloading ships. The pay wasn't as good, but it was something. He was managing. In April, we got a letter from a stranger, a man named Mr. Patterson. He wrote to inform us that our son Thomas had been in an accident at the docks. Some cargo had fallen. Thomas had been badly hurt. He was in the hospital. We should come if we could. I'll never forget reading that letter, reading it over and over. The words not making sense, not able to sink in. Thomas hurt. Hospital. Come if we could. John went. Took every penny we had, borrowed more, got on the train to St. Louis. I wanted to go too. Wanted to go so badly. But someone had to stay. Mind the farm, the animals. We couldn't both leave. So John went. And I stayed. And I waited. And I prayed. Prayed like I'd never prayed before. Please, God. Please. Let my boy be okay. I'll do anything. Anything. Just let him be okay. John was gone for 5 days. 5 days of not knowing, of imagining the worst, of bargaining with God, making promises. If you let him live, I'll never be angry again. Never hold on too tight. I'll let him live his life. Just please, please let him live. When John came home, I knew from his face, from the way he walked up the path, slow, heavy, like he was carrying something too big, too terrible. Thomas had died 2 days after the accident, never woke up. The injuries were too severe. He was gone. My boy was gone. John had made arrangements, had Thomas buried there in St. Louis. Couldn't afford to bring him home. Could barely afford the burial. a simple grave, a simple stone. Thomas John Whitfield, 1857 to 1875. Beloved son, 18 years old. My Thomas was 18 years old. I didn't cry at first. Couldn't. It was too big, too terrible. I just sat, stared. John held me. But I couldn't feel it. Couldn't feel anything. It was like I'd gone numb, like part of me had died too. The grief came later, waves of it, crashing over me, drowning me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but cry, scream, rage against God, against fate, against myself, because it was my fault. Don't you see? It was all my fault. If I'd stopped him, if I'd said goodbye properly that morning, if I'd told him I loved him, if I'd blessed him, supported him, maybe he would have been more careful. Maybe he would have been somewhere else. Not at those docks, not under that cargo. Maybe he'd still be alive. Or if I'd gone after him, when John said to, if I'd run out that door, caught him, hugged him, told him I was sorry, told him I loved him, that he should go, should follow his dreams, that I'd always be here waiting, always be proud of him. Maybe things would have been different, but I didn't. I stood there, silent, angry, prideful, and I let him walk away. The last time I saw my son, the last time I ever would, and I said nothing, nothing. Those were the last words we spoke during that fight. Me calling him selfish, ungrateful, him saying I loved him too much, smothered him. That's what we left it at. That's how we parted. I never got to apologize, never got to make it right, never got to tell him that he was right, that he should go, should live, should have his own life, that I was sorry for holding on so tight, for being afraid, for putting my fear onto him. I never got to tell him I loved him, that I was proud of him, that even though I was scared, even though I wanted him close, I understood. I understood his need to go, to see, to try, to live. I never got to say any of that, and now I never will. He's gone. My boy is gone. And I have to live with that, with the things I said, the things I didn't say, for the rest of my life. People tried to comfort me, said it wasn't my fault, that accidents happen, that it was God's will, that Thomas was in a better place, that I'd see him again someday in heaven. But none of that helped. None of that changed anything. My boy was dead, and the last time I saw him I'd been angry, cold, unforgiving. I fell into a darkness, a deep darkness. Didn't want to get out of bed, didn't want to eat, didn't want to live. What was the point? My only child was gone. Everything I'd lived for, worked for, hoped for, gone. John, he grieved too, but different, quieter. He'd go out to the fields, work himself to exhaustion, come home, sit in silence. We didn't talk about it much. Couldn't. It was too painful. We'd just sit, together, but alone in our grief. The years passed. 1875, 1876, 1877. Time kept moving even though I wanted it to stop, even though every day was the same. Wake up. Remember Thomas is gone. Feel the grief crash over me again. Try to get through the day. Go to sleep. Dream of him. Wake up. Do it all again. I thought about going to his grave, to St. Louis, to see where he was buried, to talk to him, tell him all the things I should have said. But we never had the money, and maybe I was afraid to see it, to make it real. As long as I didn't see his grave, maybe some part of me could pretend, could hope, could imagine he was still out there somewhere, still alive. But I knew, deep down, I knew he was gone, and I'd never see him again, not in this life. I'm old now, so very old. It's been decades since Thomas died, decades since I saw his face, heard his voice, but I remember everything, every detail, the way he laughed, the dimple in his cheek, the way he'd look at me when he was little, like I was everything, like I hung the moon. I remember the light that last morning, the way it fell across the table, across his face as he ate his breakfast. I remember the sound of the door closing, his footsteps fading. I remember standing there, too proud, too stubborn, too foolish to run after him. And I remember the regret. Oh, the regret. It's been my companion all these years, heavier than any burden I've ever carried. I wake up with it, go to sleep with it, live with it every single day. If I could go back, if I could have just one moment, one chance to do it over, I'd run after him. I'd catch him, hold him, tell him I love him, tell him I'm proud of him, tell him to go, to live, to be happy, that I'll be here, always here, loving him, supporting him, believing in him. I'd tell him to be careful, to write often, to come home when he could, but that it's okay if he can't, that I understand, that I want him to have his life, his dreams, his adventures. I tell him he was right, that I did hold on too tight, that I was afraid, but that my fear was my problem, not his, that he shouldn't have to carry it, shouldn't have to make himself small to make me comfortable. I'd tell him I'm sorry, so sorry, for the fight, for the things I said, for making his leaving harder than it had to be, for not giving him my blessing, my love, my support. And I'd tell him one more time, I love you, I love you, I love you, I'll always love you, no matter where you go, no matter what happens. You're my son, my precious boy, and I'm so grateful I got to be your mother, even if it wasn't for long enough, even if I made mistakes. I'm grateful, so grateful, but I don't get that chance. None of us do. We don't get to go back, don't get to redo our mistakes. We have to live with them, carry them, learn from them if we can. And that's why I'm telling you this. You young folks recording this, listening to an old woman's story, an old woman's regrets, I'm telling you so maybe you won't make the same mistakes. Don't hold on too tight, not to your children, not to anyone you love. Love them, yes. Love them with everything you have. But let them go. Let them live. Let them make their own choices, their own mistakes, their own lives. Don't let pride keep you from saying what needs to be said, from apologizing, from admitting when you're wrong, from speaking your love out loud, because you don't know. You never know if you'll get another chance. Don't let fear control you. Control your choices. Control how you treat the people you love. Fear is natural. It's human. But it shouldn't be in charge. Love should be in charge. Always love. Say the words. Say I love you. Say I'm proud of you. Say I'm sorry. Say whatever needs saying. Don't wait. Don't assume there'll be time later, because sometimes there isn't. Sometimes later never comes. I learned this too late. Too late to help my Thomas. Too late to make things right between us. But maybe not too late to help someone else. Maybe my story, my pain, my regret. Maybe it can save someone else from the same fate. If you have someone you love, someone you fought with, someone you've been too proud to apologize to, go to them right now, today. Don't wait. Tell them you're sorry. Tell them you love them. Make it right while you still can. If you have children, let them go. Let them live. Support their dreams even if they scare you, even if you want them close, even if you think you know better. They need to find their own way, make their own path, and they need to know you love them, believe in them, are proud of them, no matter what. Don't do what I did. Don't let anger and pride steal your last moments with someone. Don't let fear make you small and controlling. Don't save the words for later. There might not be a later. I'm 92 years old now. I've lived a long time, seen a lot, lost a lot. My husband John died 20 years ago. Most everyone I knew growing up is gone. I'm one of the last ones left. Sometimes I wonder why. Why am I still here when so many are gone? Maybe it's to tell this story, to pass on this lesson, to warn others, to help even one person avoid the pain I've lived with all these years. Thomas would be 67 now if he'd lived, would have had a whole life, a wife maybe, children, grandchildren, a career, adventures, all the things he dreamed of, or maybe not. Maybe he would have come home, taken over the farm, settled down, been happy here. I'll never know. He never got the chance to find out. I visit his grave now sometimes. Finally made it to St. Louis a few years back. A neighbor drove me, helped me find the cemetery, the grave. It's a simple stone like John said, weathered now, covered in moss. I cleaned it off, sat beside it, and I talked to him. I told him everything. Everything I should have said that morning. Everything I've carried all these years. I cried. Oh, I cried. An old woman crying over a grave that's been there longer than some people have been alive. I don't know if he heard me, if he's somewhere listening. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think he knows now, knows I loved him, was proud of him. I'm sorry for how we parted. I hope he knows. I hope wherever he is, he's at peace, happy, living the life he never got to live here. As for me, I won't be here much longer. I can feel it, my body wearing out, wearing down, ready to stop. And I'm tired, So tired, tired of living with this regret, this grief, this hole in my heart that never healed, never will. But I'm grateful too, grateful I got 18 years with Thomas, even if it ended badly, even if I made mistakes. I gotta be his mother, gotta hold him as a baby, watch him grow, hear him laugh, see him become a young man. Not everyone gets that. Some lose their children much younger. Some never get children at all. So I'm grateful for the time I had, for the memories, even the painful ones, because they're all I have left of him. And I hold them close, treasure them, even as they hurt. I look at the light sometimes, coming through windows, and I remember that morning, that last morning, the ordinary light on an ordinary day that became the worst day of my life. And I think about all the ordinary mornings since, all the light I've seen, all the days I've lived that Thomas didn't get to live. And I try to live for both of us, to notice things, appreciate things, to not take a single moment for granted, because I know now, I know how quickly it can all end, how final death is, how permanent our choices are. I wish I could tell Thomas that, tell him I learned, that his death, as terrible as it was, taught me something, made me a different person, a better person maybe, more aware, more grateful, more loving, less afraid. I wish I could tell him that I did eventually let go of the anger, the pride, the fear, that I forgave him for leaving, forgave myself for how I acted, that I found a kind of peace, not happiness exactly, but peace, acceptance, understanding. I wish I could tell him so many things, but I can't. All I can do is tell you, tell this story, hope that maybe it matters, maybe it helps someone, maybe it stops one person from making the same mistake, from saying goodbye in anger, from letting pride keep them from love. That's all I have left to give, this story, this warning, this plea. Love the people you love while you can. Say the words. Make peace. Let go of the small things, the pride, the fear, the need to be right. Because in the end, none of that matters. Only love matters. Only the people we love and who love us. That's all that lasts. That's all that really matters. My boy never came home. That day in May of 1874, he walked out that door and he never came back. And I have to live with that, with how we parted, with what I said and didn't say, for the rest of my life, however long that is. But you don't have to. You don't have to carry this kind of regret, this kind of pain. You can choose different. Choose love. Choose forgiveness. Choose to say the words while there's still time. Don't wait. Please don't wait. Go to the people you love. Tell them. Show them. Make it right. Make it good. While you still can. Because one day, the light will come through the window, and it will be the last time, the last ordinary morning, and you won't know. You won't know it's the last time until it's too late. Don't let it be too late. Don't be like me, old and full of regret and carrying this weight. Choose love. Choose now. Choose to say goodbye properly, with love, with blessing, with all the words that need saying. That's my message. That's what I want to leave behind. Not money or land or possessions. Just this story, this lesson. Learned too late for me, but not for you. Not if you listen. Not if you act. Love each other. Forgive each other. Say the words. Don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let pride or fear or anger steal your last moments with someone. That's all. That's everything. An old woman's regret. An old woman's wisdom. An old woman's plea. Don't make my mistake. Don't let the ones you love walk out that door without knowing, without hearing, without feeling your love, your blessing, your support. Because you never know. You just never know. And I wouldn't wish this on anyone. This weight, this regret, this lifetime of wondering what if. What if I'd run after him? What if I'd said I love you? What if I'd let go of my anger and held him one last time? What if? Those might be the saddest words in the English language. What if? Don't live with what if. Live with I did, I said. I loved, I forgave, I blessed. That's what I wish I could say. What I wish I had done, but I didn't. And now it's too late. For me and my Thomas, but not for you. Not yet. So go. Please go and make it right. While there's still time. While the light still comes through the window on an ordinary morning. Before it becomes the last morning. The last goodbye. The last chance. Go. And tell them. Tell them I sent you. An old woman who learned too late. Who wants to save you from the same fate. Tell them you love them while you still can. Please. That's all I ask. All I want. All that matters now. Just tell them. Before it's too late. Before they walk out that door and never come home. Like my Thomas, my boy who never came home. That's my story. That's what happened. That's what I carry every day for all these years. Thank you for listening, for recording this, for caring about an old woman's tale. Maybe someone will hear it. Maybe it will help. Maybe one person will choose different. Choose love. Choose to say the words. That would be something. That would mean something. Would make this all worth it. The pain, the telling, the remembering. If just one person, just one, doesn't make my mistake, that would be enough. That would be everything.